Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about us today. Out here under the blue sky again. Pretty nice in the Colorado Front Range foothills here. I'm getting out. And it's about us, and we. It boils down to what do we mean, we? The famous line, what you mean we, white man? It's what Tonto said to the Lone Ranger at some point. You can imagine the rest. I find myself unable to identify with what other people frequently mean by we. I'm thinking, well, what you meant was you, because, I don't share that point of view. When I get to know someone new, I always have a driving curiosity to find out their point of view. And I learn from that, and I dive into learning about their point of view unless I run into a wall of hatred somewhere in there, and then I have to lose interest. You know what I mean. Now, when I used to speak the Inca language with my village friends in Peru, I had to learn in the Inca language grammar, the Quechua language grammar, two kinds of we. Like if I said no canchis mi junchis, that meant we eat, meaning you, the person I'm talking to, and I eat. But if I said no kaiku mi kaiku, that means we eat, but that meant that the person I was talking to was not included. I was telling him that someone else and I were eating. So there's an inclusive and exclusive aspect to we. Now, I just gave an interview to someone who used the word we a lot. And it made me uncomfortable because I simply did not feel like I belonged in his group of we. And I discovered that in spite of his having a reputation for being a very loving individual, it didn't seem to include other nationalities, or at least not other nationalities that came from certain nations. I couldn't really tell. But my identity, for example, as the American we, was blown to smithereens when I lived in Greece back in the early 1970s. Now, Greece is a small country that's been thrown under the bus by many big empires. And Greeks are very careful about preserving their Greek identity, which they mean by we. When they say we Greeks, it's quite a powerful thing. But me, as an American, I wasn't included in that we, unless I went out of my way to let them know that I shared a particular attitude or point of view. And I did gain entrance eventually into the Greek we feeling of like, yeah, we're in all this together. I was there at a time when the whole country was divided and half of us were demonstrating against the right-wing dictatorship at the time. It was a scary time in Greece, another of many scary times in Greece. So when I came back to my home country, to America, I immediately discovered that my idea of who we are had changed. And I've felt a lot of pushing and pulling in my own consciousness ever since, because when I started hanging out with Egyptians, I learned how to be an Egyptian. And when I hung out in Syria, I learned how to be from Syria. So when I speak of we, wow, I'm kind of a complex bag, and the more complex my we bag gets, the more close I become to the unity, to all of us on planet Earth. So when we talk about the big we, meaning unity consciousness on planet Earth, it's an invitation to look deep into our own we-ness and find out how big our we-ness really is, and maybe start running some experiments. Anyway, those are my thoughts out here under the blue sky on this beautiful day.